Hi folks, just getting myself sorted here. How's everybody going? We shall get going here in 2 seconds as we always do. So hopefully you're all doing all right. How's everybody going? Good, I hope. Lovely to see you all again. Another Sunday evening, another week on. How crazy is this? It's all going so fast and yet so slow at the same time. Hi everybody, lovely to see a few of you guys on already. So we'll just give a few people, you're all clocking on very quick tonight, this is great. So my name is Miriam from Sweet Creations, based in the gorgeous County Wicklow in the Garden County of Ireland. A really beautiful place to live. Weather's been fabulous, so I'm lucky. I'm in a village, but I'm on the edge of the village, so I can get out and about and walk around some little bit, and it's not so bad. So I hope you guys are all doing very well where you are. Hi everybody, Guatemala, England, my lovely friends in Ireland, Sharon just a few miles in the road. Lovely to see you guys again. So tonight the flower that we're doing, and I've got bits of news for you tonight as well, it is this lady here. So it's a Parrot Tulip. I feel like it's a little bit dark tonight, I don't know why, but I've all the lights on, I've every light in the place on. So it's a little Parrot Tulip that we're going to be doing, and I'm going to show you how I make these guys and put them together, and how I make the buds and the leaves and everything as well, so you'll get to see all the bits and pieces. All right, so as always, hi Selena, hi Lorraine, how are you, Mary? So as always guys, shout out where you are. I always love to see where you guys are from. Few little bits of news, couple of bits that I've been working on. One is this one here. I hope you can see my little Love Ireland came last year with the Jurassic Coast, beautiful. So this is a new dahlia I've been working on, 2 new dahlias. So I've been making these little guys here, so I hope you like them. This one here has got little spots on it. And this one here has got stripes on it. So a couple of little pieces that I've been working on, and I'll be telling you a little bit more about what's happening with those guys later on. Also, I have this piece here, which is my sunflower, and again it's got all the little filler flowers and everything as well, that you can see, and the little hypericum berries that you can see there on it, and a few other pieces that I'm after been working on. I haven't been idle. These are my David Austin roses, and I know a lot of you guys have been asking about these ones here, and about making them, so I will talk through on those guys later on. But for now and for tonight's demo, as I say, it is the Parrot Tulip. All right, so obviously these come in dozens and dozens of different colours and styles and everything, and I'm actually going to show you tonight. I'm going to make one with a cutter, but I'm also going to show you how to make them if you don't have the cutters as well, so that you can kind of see both ways, because not everybody has the cutters. So just bear with me, and I'll drop you down here onto the table. All right, and we shall get going. Hope everybody's keeping well. So we should be around about here, and I'll just get my light down now as well. All right, and we'll turn the light down, get a bit of light on the subject. Okay, so like I say, everybody is very welcome along. Hopefully I'll get to see the comments here as always, and I'll be able to, I'm jigging everything together as I always do. Made up friends with Vodafone in the meantime since last week. That's as long as they behave tonight. They may and may not. Oh, we've got everything tallied up for a change. Okay, so for the tulips, there's obviously the centres, the petals, the leaves and the buds. So I'm going to show you how to make these ones. What are the little ones that look like a strawberry, Edwina? They're probably the hypericum berries, I'd say, the pepper berries. I'd say they're the ones that you're looking at there. So to start on, first of all, I'll just show you the bits and pieces. So I think probably if I flip this to the white, this might be a little bit easier. These are the centres. Now, as I always tell you, I always use the pre-made centres. So these are the centres. You've got the pistil here, and you've got the 6 stamens that go in the centre with each petal. Okay, so one of those guys go on each petal there as well. And they have, it's like a purpley kind of green filament on them, and then the black tips on the end of the stamens. All right, so that's those guys there. I think I need to move a little bit. Okay, hopefully you can all see and hear me okay. Shout out, guys, if you can't. I think I'm well tallied up tonight. I'm getting used to this. This then is the pistil. Okay, so it's got 3 little pieces at the end of it, and then it is just slightly triangular shape. Actually, these pistils are, so they're a lovely one. So like I say, these ones I made, they're at least I use are the ready-made ones, just simply because the time that it takes to make them. Kayoko, how are you? I hope yourself, you guys are keeping really well there. Hope you're all doing well. So there are our centers to use there. What I need then is, just let me get rid of this guy here. So what I need then is I need my petals, and I'm going to show you how I make all the petals and everything. I have a couple made here that they're dry enough then for dusting and everything for us as well. And then also the leaves and the buds. Okay, so I think we have a few people watching. We sure do. Lovely to see you all, and we shall get started. All right, so you can all see me and hear me. Good. Oh, hold on there now till I turn her down. Don't need to hear her. All right. So what I want to do tonight is I want to actually show you how to make them with the cutters and veiners and without the cutter and veiner, because I'm conscious that, you know, sometimes you may not have all the cutters and veiners and you might not be doing a huge amount of these. So I want to show you both ways of doing them, okay? This is a set of tulip cutters and veiners that I have, okay, and that I use and I love. That's what I have used for these petals here. Okay, but also what I want to show you is I want to show you how to make it without these guys. So let's say you don't have them. So we'll show you both ways. This is another set. I don't know the brand of this set here. It's a set I have that, you know, my famous clear outs that I get. So it is a set of these guys that I have there as well. That's another set, quite a big petal actually. They're a very, very big petal, but they'd make a good statement piece. That's another set that I have. I don't know the brand of those guys there. And then obviously there is some other ones here that you can get. It says tulip. So this is a little wee small one, 2 different ones in the set, and they can be used as well. So it's really what you have to hand. But what I want to show you tonight is these are the set that I'm going to make the petals, where if you don't have a tulip cutter and veiner, we're going to make one actually out of a rose petal cutter without any veiner or anything like that. So I'm going to show you how to do those as well. All right, and as always, guys, if you have any questions as we go along the way, please shout. If I do miss them, if they're scrolling up and I do miss a question, I will go back at the very end and I'll go through all of them again for you. Okay, so let's start off. First of all, I'm going to make the petals. So as I say, the pistils and stamens, they're my ready-made ones, and I know the first question people will ask me, where do you get them? They're on my website at sweetcreations.ie. They're the ready-made tulip set. There's 2 sets in a pack. Okay, so I know that's the first question that people always ask me. The flower paste that I use, this is my own brand flower paste as always, so it's the Sweet Creations brand of flower paste. I have it in 18 different colours, and I'm going to use the pink tonight, so it's just a very pale pink, but obviously it depends on what colour tulip that you're going to be making. All right, so let's start on making the petal first with the cutters and veiners. Okay, so we'll start on these guys. What I'm using here is, this is my veining board. So for anyone who hasn't used these guys before, hi everybody shouting out, lovely to see you all. So the veining board that I'm using, this just a little small one, and it's got 4 different grooves in it. So this one here is quite a fine one, and then it will get a little bit heavier and thicker. So if I was doing let me see, the tulip is not an over fine petal on these ones, because there's so much vein in texture. You actually roll these petals out a small bit thicker, but it just depends how big and how thick a petal that you're making, which one that you use. So generally for the tulips, I'll use the middle vein. Okay, if I was doing bigger leaves or longer leaves, actually the tulip leaf, I would use the thicker vein on it. Okay, so the wire that I'm using for the petals, this is a 26 gauge wire. Let me just double check. No, it's, yes it is. Yeah, this is 28, which I've used for the buds. This one here, 26 gauge for the petal. I would normally have, mostly I would buy white wires, just for the simple reason that obviously if you're doing mostly petals or that, you don't want the wires to be shown through it. So you can, if you use white wires, it's best. And actually the white, obviously you can use for either leaves or petals. So if you're not doing a huge amount of flowers, buy white wire, and then you can use it for either leaves or petals. If you're doing a mixture, obviously you can get your green and your white. So it just depends what you want. Okay, so what we do is we take some of our flower paste. Now, I've had a lot of questions kind of during the week, and a lot of messages come through during the week. So I'll try and remember all of the messages that I got and try and answer them as I go, all right? When you start, first of all, when you're making wired flowers, you must use flower paste or gum paste. Fondant or roll-out icing or sugar paste won't work, full stop. Just doesn't work. What'll happen is, I had someone during the week, and every time when they pressed the flower into the vein, or the wires kept falling through. Simple answer, they were using fondant. Literally fondant or roll out icing doesn't have enough gums in it in order for it to be flexible enough. It is flexible, but it's what we call a short paste. So it won't have that stretch. You can see a flower paste or a gum paste, it has that stretch in it. Sugar paste just simply doesn't have that. The difference of them is, your fondant and your roll-out icing is what you'll use to cover your cake with. So you want to be able to cut that and eat it. It'll never set rock solid because it has an ingredient called glycerine in it. The glycerine acts as a humectant, which basically means it holds the moisture from the air, so it won't set rock hard. Gum paste or flower paste can both be used for modelling or for sugar flowers. They have a higher level of gum, so therefore you get this gumminess, this stretchiness to it. They'll stand alone in wired petals. They'll stand alone in little models. If you make a big model, especially a big sculptured piece out of fondant or roll-out icing, it'll sag back down on itself. If you make it out of gum paste or flower paste, it will hold because of the level of gum that's in it. It'll hold and it won't sag down, so it'll dry harder. Also with the gum paste and flower paste, you don't necessarily eat it because it sets so hard. Okay, so your flower paste, your wired flowers, your buds, your leaves, all of that you've got to make out of gum paste or flower paste just to have them hold upright. All right. Hi Sheila, Bright, how are you? Martina, how are you? Camilla, how's everybody going? So always when you start on your flowers first, what you do is you'll always knead the flower, as you've seen me do, and it changes the texture, or you knead the paste at least. It'll change the texture. When you're not using your paste, pop it back into your box, because this will depend on, well, anywhere actually, not even depending where you are, but actually it will skin over and dry very quickly. So if it's skinned over on you, next thing when you roll it out, you get these little lumps and little pieces in it. You don't have this cutter, Millie, that's okay. I'm going to show you how to make it if you don't have the cutter as well. First petal I'm going to show you is with the cutter and veiner. The second petal I'm going to show you is without the cutter and veiner. So don't worry if you don't have it. I'm going to show you a clever little trick. Okay, so we roll our paste into a little ball and placing it onto the center vein. If you don't have this veining board, actually the second petal that I make, I'll make it without a veining board, without the tulip petal cutter, without the tulip petal veiner. Living on the edge, lads, living on the edge. So we'll do without on all those guys. All right. Now, so we roll our paste out over the vein. So the vein is going up through the center of the petal as always. Okay, and what we do is we just roll it out in the different directions, just so I can get it as thin as you're comfortable with. It depends on what petal you're doing. These are a little bit fleshy, what I'd call a small bit fleshy. Okay, we take our cutter then, we place it down so that the vein is going up through the center. Then I take my acrylic block, and if you've seen my demonstrations from the last few weeks, I think this is my 9th demonstration, I think that's what it is. The acrylic blocks I use all the time because quite often your boards or your cutters might be a small bit twisted. So if you use the acrylic blocks, they'll give you that clean cut down. Press down on it, lift it off, then you want to hold the cutter and lift your paste up and over, okay? This way then you'll get a nice clean cut. Lift off your lift off your cutter, but I want to keep it on the board. Now, I'm not sure if you can see, I have a few little what we call burrs, so a few little rough edges just on it. So what I want to do is I just want to soften that down. Linda, yes, I'll show you the twiddling, absolutely. So I want to just soften down those edges there. I'm going to turn my board now in 90 degree. I'm right-handed, so I'm not sure, this may look like it's left hand. I'm right-handed, so I turn the end of the petal to my right hand. I place back on the acrylic square. Okay, then I'm just using edible glue. So we all know the edible glues that we can use. My wire here, and the wire again that I've used, is 26 gauge for these petals. Something somebody else asked me during the week was that when they were trying to tape together a tulip, the petals kept on spinning so that they couldn't get them tight enough in. The answer to that is it was too light of a petal, of a wire. So you want just slightly heavier wire, okay? Dip your wire into the edible glue and wipe off the excess. And something somebody else asked me during the week was, what have I on the back of my hand? I've nothing, but by the time I'm finished, I just have glue. So I'm just taking off the excess glue onto the back of my hand. Okay, I'm holding down now. So I don't know if you can see on the camera, you might well be able to see just the shadow of where that vein is. I'm push and twist, push and twist. Now, there's the thing. If you are doing this and the tape starts to kind of gather here at the end, what you need to do, what it means is you've just gone the wrong way around with the wire. So just pull it back out and turn the wire and insert it through the other end. Okay, push and twist. And I can see that the wire is roughly about a third of the way up the petal. I can take off my acrylic block now, and this, as I say, this is a Parrot Tulip. I'm going to show you how I do this without the cutter and the veiner and without the veining board. So we're going to go do it completely, I was going to say completely naked, but that wouldn't be the right thing to say. And you wouldn't stay very long. So I'll show you all those on my next petal. So I'm just popping on a little small bit of cornflour here, just because it's such a detailed petal. I want to lift this off the board now, crossways. So we have our petal and our wire is in through. If it's a thing, you might be able to see here that the wire is shown through a small bit at the back of it. Okay, I love how you guys are laughing at the thoughts of naked flower making. Take an angled tweezers, press it down, pinch the paste back over it, press it down just so as you get that paste, so you don't scrap the petal, but just so as you get that back over it. Okay. Lift it now into your veiner, and then we place on the top. And when it's a detailed veiner like this, I just give it a little start. Press down, don't press too hard. If you press too hard on this, it'll cut the paste on you. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to just gently let it, not even massage it, but just gently give it a minute just to get into all those little dips and grooves. All right, so hopefully these if you have any questions or that, you can just shout at me. All right, when you lift it off now, so you have the grooves, can you see on it the wire is popped out a small bit there at the very end? So I'm just going to twist that and I'm just going to reverse it back a little bit. And even what I can do is just pinch that paste right back over it. Lift that out of the veiner. We'll pop it onto our foam pad. So you get this nice, really nice little parrot shaped on it. Okay. We take our ball tool then and we just soften out all the edges. So a Parrot Tulip, it's got very frilly little edges sort of on it. Okay. Marion Malone, how are you? Maxine, how's everybody? How's everyone going? Are you all going all right? So we just soften all these edges. My preference is on a metal ball tool. I just prefer them because I've got quite hot hands. I'm going to push out and I'm just going to pull back in a little small bit just to get that extra bit of a cup on it there as well. All right. And that's how to wire, how to insert the wire when you're using a veining board and we've popped it into the little veiner. Need to get one of those tweezers. Yeah, Linda, I have to say the angled head tweezers are one of the best things that I use. The second most used piece of tool that I have is actually another tweezers, and I'll try and find it for you. The tweezers with teeth in it. teeth. I'll try and find it for you. So once you have this done here and you're happy in it, what you do is that you take then your silver spoons that you inherited off your mother, you know, these ones here, and you place the petal down into it, because it's got exactly this dessert spoon, at least it's got exactly the right shape for the petal. Okay, so that's how you'll work the petal on the veining board and the veiner, and when it's dry it'll pop out like this one here. All right. So then if we want to make this without a cutter or veiner, let me just show you how you do this here. So that's your tulip petal and veiner. That's the first one. Let's say now you don't have a cutter or a veiner, okay, and you don't have access to one. So what we're going to use is we're going to use the rose petal cutter. The sets that I have there are 6 in the set, and this is the largest one. So you can choose what size that you want to do. You can go a little bit smaller, but we're going to manipulate this that we'll be able to make a tulip. You're going to make a tulip petal from it. Okay, do you have to use the wire, Tracy? Yes. Yeah, if for these flowers you have to use the wire, but I'm going to show you another method of doing it. So if you don't have the veining boards, you can do it this way. So follow this if you don't have the veining boards on it. All right. So we're taking another little small bit of paste, and we're kneading it again, as we always do, just to warm up those gums. This time we're not using the veining board, so we're just going to roll this out on our board, and this is the non-stick boards. You probably, a lot of you have these here. They're well worth their money. I'm going to leave this petal just a small bit thicker, okay, because I'm not using a veiner here, but I still want to get my veins into the petal. Okay, so I still want to get all this. Where can you find the tweezers, Lydia? Where can you find the tweezers? I may well have a couple of them in a stash, Lydia. Send me a message and I'll have a look. I know a girl. Okay, so I've rolled it out. I've gone kind of a couple of mil thick because I need to get those veins into it. And also this time I haven't used the veining board, so this is just straight and smooth. My rose petal I'm using with the pointed end is going to be the top of the petal. Okay, press down, make sure you get that, a nice clean cut on it. Okay, hold the veiner and pull the paste up and over. Okay, now, so you're kind of getting like a tulip. So this is our proper tulip cutter. So what we want to do is there's a nick on the top of it. So what I will do first is I'm turning my rose petal cutter up the proper way, and I'm just going to nick off the top. Now I haven't cut straight down because I don't want it all marked. So I'm nicking off top. So now it's slightly rounded. Now I want to get this here. So now I'm just cutting out a little V. Look at that. Who knew? Okay. Now there's a couple of little dinges here on the side. Hopefully, can you see properly? Go this side, says you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Lydia, just remind me of that. So a couple of little in here. So you can just, and you've got kind of fairly close to it. Now I just want to cover that with the acrylic block just for a second while I'm preparing the wire. Okay. So again, this is a 26G wire. Linda Hackett, this is your twiddle method. So this here is a method that you'll hear a lot of sugar flowers talking about, twiddle method. I don't use any glue on the wire for this. I've taken a little small piece of paste. Okay. Gail Oliver, you've answered it for me. Okay, fine. So I'm twiddling the paste. So what I've done is, sorry, let me show you that again. Okay, so I've pushed the paste down, and I want the wire to be kind of halfway up the petal. So the paste is going down to where it would be. Pinch that, roll between your thumb and your finger. As you roll, don't squeeze it, but just pull up along. So as you roll, pull up along, and basically what it does is it coats the wire in paste for you. Okay, that's twiddling. Technical term, everyone knows it. Okay, so that's a twiddle method. Your excess paste, pop that back into the pot. What we do then is that we lift our petal, turn it up over, and we just place a little small bit of glue on one side of the twiddle, okay? Remember, the end of the twiddle goes to the bottom of the petal, so I want that going up the center, okay? I have to work backwards on this camera, okay, all right? So that goes up there, so just that it presses down and that it's, I'm not going to press terrible hard, but I just want to be sure it's attached. So that's if you don't have your veining board. Okay, what we want to do now is we want to turn it right side up and we want to get these veins into the petal, okay? So what we do is we take our ball tool, we're going to just pat it in a small little bit of corn flour, we're going to just soften those edges. So this, guys, just in case you missed the very start of this is using our rose petal cutter. So I've cut the petal upside down, okay? Then what I've done is I've just rounded the top of it, but I'm holding this upwards so it just rounds the top, and then with the point I've cut a little nick out of it so it gives us, and I've pushed in the side a little bit and I've given it just roughly that shape. Okay, with my ball tool now, I'm popping this up. I'm softening at least the edges of it, okay? So now you're saying, but sure, she hasn't got the texture in it. Well, wait till I show you. Ball tool, and I'm using a smaller end of it. Two ways you can do this. So you can push out, pull in. What I need you to visualize is, this up the center. Keep this plane. Don't cross that line. Okay? So push out, come in. Push out, come in, and you just keep going right down along the petal. So now you see why I made it a small bit thicker. Okay, and all the time I'm kind of working around the petal and coming in, I'm not crossing over that line there. Does that make sense to you? Okay, you're learning so much, Renee, that's fantastic, brilliant. And Gail, yeah, Gail is another link up there for them. Okay, so I don't know those suppliers, so I'm not sure of them. Okay, so push out, pull in. I'm not going off the paste, so push out and in, out and in. And you get that texture. So this will work for you if you don't have, you know, the veiners or whatever for it. And you literally just go the whole way around the petal. Okay, we want to make it a little small bit. The reason I'm holding this one here is this is the one from the veiner that I used earlier. So I want to just make it a small bit more jagged. So I'm just going to just frill that. So I'm half on the paste and half off, and I'm getting that little frilled effect. Okay, and just go right around the petal. Okay. All right, so you just soften that, and the fact that we made this petal a small bit thicker, by the time you've done this, you're thinning it out, and also you're making it a little bit bigger. So actually, if you thought, well, this is going to be too big for the cake or whatever you're going to be putting this on, you can use a smaller petal, and by the time you stretch it out, it'll have moved out a little small bit as well, if that makes sense. Okay, you can of course make these a little bit more jagged, and what you can do is, I use a little embroidery scissors, so you can hold the petal in your hand, and I just give it an odd little snip just in here, so you get those little fine little bits of there's one parrot tulip, and it's called a fringed parrot tulip. So you can just cut those little fringes into it. Okay, so you see like this, and you can just spend some time on working on those guys. What you do then is the same again. You will take, where's my mother's silver spoons? So take the silver spoon, pop it in and let it dry. And the top of the petal goes to the top of the spoon, because a tulip petal is a kind of narrower in at the top. You can let a little bit over the top if you want to do that. So my paste tends to, Rasika, my paste tends to tear when trying to push and pull. Is it flour paste you're using, or is it fondant? And I would say if it's flour paste you're using, you maybe haven't kneaded it enough before you start. So just make sure that you knead it in. If it's fondant, rollout icing, it's the wrong paste that you're using. It must be flour paste. So you can give them little twists there at the top as well, just to make it a little bit more natural looking. All right. And like I say, so there's, I know they're not identical, The other thing you can do with this one here, the one that it is flour paste, then I would say Rasika, that possibly you haven't kneaded it enough just to warm up the gums. I'd say work it a little bit more, okay? I'm taking my Dresden tool and just to make a few more little creases in it. You can do that as well. So you see how that will make little smaller creases also in it, okay? And then all the shape will come from your spoon. Now, of course, you can buy formers for these, but do you know, Mother Silver, love the spoons. I know you love my silver spoons, Eileen, don't you? So leave them alone, let them dry, and they're ready then for dusting once they're dry enough. All right. What we want to do then is we just want to make a small little bud for it, just so that you get to see all the stages of it. And what I will use is, just let me find, this is a 20 gauge wire. So I'm just going to, I've just cut this, the length of the wire, in 3 pieces. And I use, these are jewellery's tweezers. You can see they've been through the wars, but they still work. Jeweller's tweezers, so these have a flat inside to them. I catch the wire, but of course you can use a pinchers as well. So just catch the wire and make that hook. Bend that back a little bit. Okay. And that's in there. All right. So that's your hook. This is going to be making the bud. All right. Yeah, Rasika, try that. Sorry, I'm probably pronouncing your name incorrectly. So we're going to just take a small bit. Now, what you need to remember is when you're making buds, so let's say, for example, this is the flower that we're making. So the bud is never going to be as big as the flower until it's almost starting to hum. So it's only about 1/2 or 2/3. All right. eBay do a plastic spoon. Yeah, they do. To be honest, you've got dessert spoons in your drawer. Dessert spoons will work as well. The reason I like these silver spoons is because they're deep. They're the old style silver spoons. Dessert spoon will work perfectly as well, Linda. So we need, as I say, the bud is half-ish the size of the actual flower that we're making. So I'm just taking a little bit of pink. Okay. Tonia, yes, I have a shop at sweetcreations.ie and I post worldwide. Okay. And you need 6 petals, Millie. You can find those, I'm trying to keep up with the questions. You can find those tablespoons in antique shops. Exactly. I have a friend who goes on regular hunts for me. Not at the minute, but she does. So all I've done, sorry, as I've been yapping. So I've taken a little piece of pink, of my matching paste at least. Okay. Roll it into a ball, roll that into a point. Okay. So the tulip buds are quite pointy. My wire then, I've put a hook on the end of it. I'm dipping it into my glue and take off any excess onto the back of your hand. So there's nothing else on the back of my hand. Okay. Pop the hook in through the rounded end of the bud and twist that around. Now you want to just kind of re-round this then, but you have to twist that there just to make sure that it's secured in on it. Okay, that goes there. All right. And then what you can do is you can mark up the veins. So a tulip, normally they'll have 6 petals on them. So what we want to do is we want to mark 3 petals, because most flowers will have, for the likes of tulips, lilies and that, they'll basically have 3 petals on the inside, 3 petals on the outside. So they're in rows, if you like. So what we do is on the bud, we just mark as if there were 3 petals. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay. You can, if you want to, you can make little creases for the parrot effect on it. So you can do a few little creases just with the back of the Dresden tool if you want to do that. I just leave them fairly plain. Okay. Plastic soup spoons. Yeah. I mean, like I say, you've dessert spoons in your drawer as well, so you can mark those guys. All right, and that's your bud. So you just want to mark that up there. If you wanted to do this, that it's kind of half open, that the bud is half open. So sometimes, say for example, in competitions, you might get a competition that you must have stages of a flower. So you've got the bud, you've got the fully open flower, which will be assembling shortly. If you want to do this, that it's a kind of half opened, take your scissors and cut just where those veins are. So cut down as far as you dare. Okay, so you've already marked in the veins. Cut this down. You see now, this will start to open the flower. So we just soften that back. Soften each one. And you see, and you can get down into the throat of the flower a little bit and just open that small bit, just with the end of a paintbrush or a brush. Yeah, I think some places I am able to ship, but I'm only able to ship, Tanya, 3 days a week at the moment because of the restrictions. And we're waiting to see will ours be lifted next week, but I really can't see them being lifted, to be honest. But we're able to order online here at the moment, but we're not able to physically shop. So it depends where you are. So that's if you want a half open bud. And what I would do is I'm just spinning that in my hand a little bit, so it kind of gives you a tulip nearly unfurls a little small bit. Okay, so you can leave it open out a little bit, or you can just leave it so as it would. All right, so if you want it half open, you can open up more, of course, if you want to do that as well. Les Brown, late to the party, never late, never late. Okay, so that's your little bud there on it. You can leave it closed, as I say, or half open. Okay, and then for the leaves, then what I'll do is just let me get a little bit of green paste. So again, this is just the foliage green flower paste that I have. Okay, and we just take a little small bit again, and the tulip leaves, they're quite long and just kind of long, and they're quite wide in the center, and then they point. So we take a little bit of the green paste. I'll show you the twiddling method on this again, actually, because I think that's what you prefer to see. There's Trevor Chadwick watching. That lad's hardly making sugar flowers, are you, Trevor Chadwick? Looking for cheesecake, I bet you. So I'm taking a piece of paste and I'm rolling it into a point at the end, rolling this out. Now don't worry that this is going to lose its shape. I'm going to show you how to fix this. So we just pin this out as a bit longer than what you'll want it, because we're going to cut it, okay? And I need it to go a long ways up, okay? Then what I do is I take my wheel, my cutting wheel, you probably all of these, or you can use a sharp knife or something. We're going to go from the bottom, we're going to come up and back in at the top. Okay, same thing, and I'm leaving, can you see? No, I'm gone off camera, aren't I? So see at the bottom here, I'm not cutting it at a point, I'm leaving a little gap. I'm coming out, I'm going out, and I'm going back in and up to a point. So let me just pull her this way, so you should see a little bit better. Okay, pointed at the top and a little bit squared off just at the bottom. Okay, what I have, this is actually a tulip leaf veiner that I have. I use this actually for lots and lots of different vases. There is another one that you can get, someone will tell me the name of it. It's like actually two other things that you can use. You can get, can you see the veins on this? Hopefully you can. You can use corn husk. So you know the corn husk that your sweet corn will come in? Keep it and dry it, and it will give you that texture. Or there's another one, guys, is it a universal veiner it's called? And it's a square veiner and it has these lines on it as well. Or I'll show you again, if you don't have a veiner, you can just take your wheel tool, and I'm not pressing through it, but I'm just going up along in straight lines. And that will also give you that texture. Okay. Or as I say, you can press it into the veiner. So just first up, let me prepare my wire. And I've got white wire here, so we're going to twiddle the paste up along it again. All right, actually, let me just get a slightly thicker one in green. So, or a slightly longer one at least in green. So Nancy Cunningham, how are you in Glasgow? Les Brown was dozing. How dare you, Les? Okay, so again, we want to just do the twiddle method. So let me just see that you can surely see. So I want my wire now to come a good ways up. When it's a long leaf like this, I want it to come a good 2/3 of the way up, unless this is a competition piece. If it's a competition piece, I don't come up this far. My piece of paste then goes down, and between my thumb and finger, I twist and pull up as I'm going, up along the whole length of the wire. Don't worry if the paste comes off. You can just rejoin it on. So basically what you're doing is you're coating the wire with paste. Okay, you can pop it onto your foam pad, and just under on the fleshy part of your hand here, you can just roll this just so it smooths out nicely for you. Okay, what you want to do then is you just want to glue up along just on the one side of the twiddle. So this is twiddle. Okay, how do I know what size to cut the leaves? I actually, if I was doing this, I would cut the leaves random sizes and at random lengths. So I'd have some longer, some shorter, some narrower. There isn't a sort of a set one. If, Edwina, if it's a thing that I want to cut these and I'm kind of a bit afraid to start cutting it, and if you happen to have your veiner, place the veiner onto your paste and just at the edges press. And what that will do is it'll mark your paste, so now you can cut just inside that line. Does that make sense? But what I would do is I'll actually make leaves in different sizes and different lengths and widths. All right, so what we do then is just pop back in that extra bit of paste. My veiner then, I just want a small bit of corn flour. I tend to use very little corn flour, only really when I need to place that on, and you can see it's a little bit square at the bottom. Okay, well measured, huh? Then our top veiner goes on here. Now, somebody asked me during the week, do you see how this paste, it's a little bit big for the veiner? Okay, so that can happen. Sometimes it's quite hard to get veiners and cutters to match. It's a bit of a pet hate of mine that you get these really nice cutters, but then they don't have the veiners to match. So let me just show you. Let me bring it over and exaggerate this a small bit. So now you can see it's a good bit bigger. Hold up the side where the paste is sticking out and press down on the other side. So my thumbs are in under here. Okay, press down so you get the veins on one side. Lift your leaf or your petal up, push it over to the other side and do the same, but now I'm holding up this side, because if you don't hold it up, you're going to get the crease of the petal, the edge of the petal, and you get your veins in. Is that okay? Because I know somebody asked me that during the week as well. So the veins in the tulip leaves, they're very, very subtle lines. As I say, if you don't have this, it is a good one to get because you used in lots of leaves. Just take your wheel tool and you can just run down the length of it and you'll get those little veins. What we want to do then is we want to just pop it onto our veining mat. I'm taking my ball tool here. This is the big gun one, and I don't want this frilly, but I do want to just soften that cut edge. So you'll always soften your cut edges just to kind of thin it out a little small bit, and just to just soften it. So this here is a weighted ball tool, okay, and it'll just soften that edge for you. What you do then is if you just hang it upside down, pinch this. Now, do you remember we left the end of that square? That actually is going to wrap around the stem of the tulip when we come to wire it. So I'm just pinching down along just to coax it in. The end then, if you just, I don't mean, when I say pinch, I'm not pinching it together, but just that I get that little point. All right, so that should be your leaf. Leave that down. And what you want to do then is you want to, just let me move my dahlias out of the way. I'll show you. I was making stripy dahlias, look. Stripy dahlias during the week. And spotty dahlias for something that I have coming up. So I'm just taking my bumpy foam and laying that on it. Okay. And leave it alone then to dry. And when it is dry, when it's dry then, it is, see how it's just nice and pointed at the end. And we've just a couple of those guys on. All right, so you'll leave that then to dry. My preference is to leave these overnight. That's just my preference, to let them dry fully overnight. It's easier just to handle them. All right, let me just check a couple of questions. Hi Dawn Tanner, how are you keeping? Sorry late. What gauge wire? For the petals I've used 26. Okay, for the leaf I would drop back to 24. Okay, because it's a bit thicker. Great tip for the veiner. Yeah, okay. Renee, what make ball tool? No idea, but I do see that Robert Haynes has got some very nice new flower surgery tools out this week. So I'm not sure if you've seen those or not. Okay, so that's how you make your petals. Anyone that's just joining us now, the stamens and the centers, these are ones that are pre-made, and these are ones, they're on my website. I'm not aware of them anywhere else in the world, actually. I'm not aware of any other supplier of them, and they're on my website, sweetcreations.ie, as are the paste and some of the different cutters and all that I have. All right, so they're those guys. I've showed you how to make the flower with the cutter and the veiner. Okay, this one here. And also I've showed you how to make, just let me find it, a petal. If you don't have a cutter, we've made this one just for anyone that's joining us with a rose petal cutter. So I've used the rose petal cutter upside down, cut this, and just to remind you again, so I've cut it upside down, and then I've cut a little nick out of the top as you have here. And then I've just pushed in the sides a little bit and marked it. But this video will be saved onto the page anyway, so you'll be able to go back and look. And I set them then, that's my mother's silver. Okay, so save it in that. She knows I do this with them. At least they get used. She's well aware what I do with the antiques. Better than having them in a drawer, isn't it? As she says herself, up in Auntie Nellie's room behind the wallpaper. That's what she says. So it's better that they're used. Okay, so let's get dusting then. And normally, if you know me or you've seen any of these demos, what I normally do is I make all the petals, I make all the leaves, I clear down then completely. Then I do my dusting, just because the dusting, the dust travels. Actually, I have to show you, my very good friend is making face masks for obviously healthcare workers, and I have been using this for my dusting and airbrushing. I've got a coffee filter inside in it, and I'm also using a baby wipe inside in it, so I can change it. Isn't that trendy? I look very I don't know what I look like, but anyway, I'm not you know how you inhale the dust. So at least that's not happening. And she's making these, so they're really, really cool and very comfortable because they hook on over the ears. Okay, so let's get dusting then. Anybody, any questions? Are you okay? Hopefully you're all right. If you do, shout out questions and I will come back at the end. There's the other spoon I was looking for. Okay, Norbert Tull, very nice to see you here. Marion, there she is, boss lady. And Louise, how are you doing? My flowers are works of art. Thank you very much, Agatha. Thank you. Cian, is there a rule of how big is the petal or heavy is that you pick the wire gauge like here? Okay, so if I'm making, so the tulip petals are quite big and they're a little bit more fleshy, so I'll use a heavier wire. Okay, there's not really a rule, I don't think. What I normally go on for the wires for the petals is the thickness. So for example, orchids, they're a little bit of a fleshier petal, so I'll use a 26. If you use too fine a gauge wire on the petals, the petal will just spin on the wire and it's quite hard to get it to work. If I'm doing very fine petals, so for example hydrangeas, which is what I'll be demonstrating next week, or if I'm doing very fine leaves, I will use a finer wire, so I'll use up to a 35G wire. There's not a rule on the size of the petal as such. I mean, you can go kind of life size. This set here that I showed you at the start, I mean, these are big guys, so I would probably use a 24 gauge wire on these just because they're a bit bigger and you want the wire to be strong enough to hold it. But more often than not, if you're doing flowers for cakes, it probably more depends on the size of the cake, how big the flower is going to be. So is it going to be life size or is it going to be a little bit smaller, if that makes sense? The gauge of the wire will depend really on the size of the petal and on the thickness of the petal that you're using. And for anyone that doesn't understand, as I'm talking, I'll pull these petals together that we're going to dust. For anyone that doesn't understand the get the wires for petals. So they will start it, they'll come in 14-inch lengths, either in green or white. Each packet has a number on it, like here, okay? So an 18, 20 gauge, they'll be your thicker, heavier wires. So I would use those as carrier wires for sprays. Or I'd use them, you know, they're quite thick. Then when you come, so this here, can you see the difference? Hopefully, yes. So this is your 18, this here is the 35G. So this is what I'll use. Actually, the 35G wires are the kind of gold dusting wires. They're what I'll use for my competition pieces, for little buds and petals. I would use those for like hydrangea petals, free azalea petals, things like that. That's what I'll use those as. These guys here, the thicker ones, I use as carriers. So you can see the difference of them, okay? The other thing that I actually do as well, guys, is I keep the pots from the gum. And you see, so this is my 35G wire. All right, so I have them pre-cut and I'm not shoving them back into packets, and they're just there then. So I have a box with like the different numbered pots on them. So, but I'm a bit obsessive about stuff like that. Okay, so is that okay, Can? Does that answer okay for you? Hopefully. So we've got our petals done, and these are dried, and they've been left overnight and they've been dried. Okay, so let's start to colour them up. My favourite, of course, lime green. I've got some pink. Look at that for a delicious colour. How amazing. Peony rose. And this is carnation. Okay, are you seeing okay? Yeah. All right. So they're kind of my 4 colours that I'm just, this is a pink kind of tulip that we're using. The brushes that I use now, I always use a dusting box, and there's nothing fancy about this. It's a box. And I line it with tissue, or I line it with greaseproof or something like that in it. It just stops, because you know yourself, if you're dusting a lot of petals, you end up with a pink belly or a green belly or something like that on you. So it's easy in the box because it doesn't travel, and you can lift it in and out as you need to. You don't have to clean down your whole work surface all the time. Okay, what brand of petal paste, Nikki? It's my own brand of petal paste, Sweet Creations. I make it myself, so I was working hard at it. I was making some yesterday, and it's got lemon oil and everything in it, so it's a nice fresh colour, or flavour and taste. And it's a slow dryer as well. Okay, so we just take out a little small bit of each colour. Look at that, delicious. Look at that. Oh, that nearly matches my uniform. And we just take out a little bit of each colour, just a small little bit, okay? Just a small little bit. And as I say, I use flat-headed brushes for my dusting. Okay, so I want to see, hi Ontario, Canada. How are you, Maria? Should have just said, how are you, Maria? Okay, so what I want you to do is, when you're dusting these, don't dust up the centre. Just for now, okay? So we're going to start with the lighter colour. So this is the carnation, okay? We're coming in from the edges, and I'm just coming in towards the centre. And I'm going in this far. So I'm not touching that centre, okay? Little bit chips off here and there, that's okay. That's going to happen. We do the back of it then the same. Now I have a little bit of a wire poking through. Can you see there? If that happens, just get yourself, I won't find it now when I want it. Hold on, I'll find it. Something else falls. Little snips, and we'll just take that off there just at the back, just so it's safe, okay? So we're taking a little bit of dust in from the outside in. And we're going to just dust off each petal. First of all, I go over them with the carnation colour. So this is our lightest colour, but I'm not going up the centre. Okay, so that's where our other colours are going to go. So I just don't want to dust that. And always, when you want to know, what way to colour, what colour to make your petal, at least, you need to look at the flower that you're making. You want to make the petal in the palest colour. So for example, while we're going to be dusting these up in the darker pinks, if you make the petal in too dark of a colour, you can't lighten it. But if you make it in a light colour, you can darken it. If that makes sense. All right. Is there a brand of brush I recommend? Not really, Paula. To be honest, I have oceans of brushes. Sometimes flat brushes, though, is what I would say. What I would do is I'll often get them in maybe art and craft shops, or, you know, sometimes I will. I have the Holy Grail brushes as well that, you know, just appear out on special occasions or when there's a big pressure competition on. But quite often you can look at, these are just cheapy, not all cheapy. I've got the gold thing of Roberts, but they're just ordinary brushes. But I would say just use flat brushes. I'll tell you what is brilliant. Love your white brush. Same question, where can you buy? I'll tell you where you can get great brushes. I don't know what, pennies. We've got pennies here. Primark. Tell you, makeup brushes. Get cheap makeup brushes. What I actually do is I don't buy expensive brushes because they get wrecked. But what I do is I have brushes for pink. I have brushes for red. I have brushes for green. Look at, this is my favorite green brush. It's an absolute wreck. It's a bit like myself. But, you know, it's like the husband. I've had it a while. I don't want to let it go. You know, we'll hold on to it. It still does the job it was intended for. So, makeup brushes. You often get nice sets of makeup brushes, and they work brilliantly as well. So yeah, I don't have a set branded. There is a stand actually who's at Birmingham at Cake International, and someone will tell me, is it just called Brushes for Cakes? And they have the most fantastic sets. I think they have like sets of brushes for like a tenner for 20 brushes. And they're there every year, so you can always pick up a batch of them. What I do is, if I want the really fine brushes for painting, so when I'm done the orchid demonstration that I did a while ago, I was painting the petal. I'll use a good quality fine brush because you want one with very few bristles on it. Trees of the range, yeah. A lot of them do art and craft. Now, the one thing I'd say, some of the art and craft brushes, just be careful that they are a soft bristle. Okay, because some of them tend to be quite hard, and that's where the makeup brushes are great. So what I've done is I've gone over the petals in the pink. This is the carnation pink. Now what I'm going to do is I'm using the same brush. I'm going to dip in now. This is Peony Rose. Now, where on the light pink I came in kind of halfway. Okay, now there is a little pocket of dust there. I'll shake it off in a second. Don't blow on the petals, guys. There's pots of colour there and you'll end up with it all over the computer screen. That's the green handled brushes. Is that the green handled brushes, Les, from the Brushes for Cakes? I'm pretty certain that that's what it's called. So I'm just coming in a little bit with this heavier colour. So this is my Peony Rose. Now you can drag the brush straight down along just to highlight those little parts there. Okay, the best ones are from the range. Okay, cool. I haven't tried the one from the range, so they have some good art ones. So yeah, lots of different. You don't have to buy expensive brushes, and like I say, they get wrecked. Little tip for you though, if you're cleaning your brushes, because to wash them it's quite hard to get the pigment out, get yourself a spoonful of corn flour on a dish or on a piece of tissue and just work your brush in the corn flour, and it actually cleans them off brilliantly for you. Just keep rubbing it back and forth. So I'm just coming in, this is with the heavier colour, so this is with the Peony Rose. And can I say to you as well, guys, make yourself an extra petal or two when you're making these flowers. Now there's only 6 petals on the flower, and the 9 times out of 10 you'll break one and it'll be exactly the one that you'll want. But also when you're trying out colours, if you just make an extra petal, like I have one there, a scrap one, I've no wires in it, and I can test my colours on it. Okay, so we're just coming in, this is the stronger colour again, and the final petal. Okay, and drag those in. My last colour now, and this is Peony Rose. I completely lied on that colour. That one's called Rose Campion. This is Peony Rose. Okay, and just our last colour comes here. So just very, very quickly down along the centres. Now, few of you guys have been asking me about a few different flowers. Okay, so just when I do this, I'm going to show you again. Some of you that were here at the start will have seen it. So I'll just do this and I'll show you the flowers I've been making. One is a dahlia, the David Austin rose. People are asking about that one as well. So I'm just going to show you a few that I've pulled together. Okay, so just the very last petal there. And then our last bit of dusting on it. So my bedraggled brush, okay. Don't throw it out, it's like an old friend. I'm taking the lime green and I'm nearly at the end of this pot. So I'm taking the lime green, just take a little bit and go up the center. You can fade it out a small bit so you can go up the center of the petal. Back and front. Tulips are coloured on the back and the front. Okay. And you see suddenly it transforms the whole petal. All right. So again, back and front, and this is, I wouldn't mind, I have got a drawer full of brushes, loads of different ones, but just, you know, this one is the old friend, you know, the old friend you have in brushes. Okay, so we're just coming up the center, and obviously if you look up, I mean Pinterest I'm on a lot for looking up stuff. What I don't want is I don't want to stripe. I want to just fade it out a little bit towards the side. But if you look up Parrot Tulips, Pinterest is brilliant. There's so many. I mean, there's lots of fringe tulips. There's one called, look up the ice cream tulip. Oh wow, my mother-in-law actually, I've discovered, has one. I have one. I got a head of one, and it's beautiful. It's like a triple or 4 layers, and each petal has a pistil. It's amazing, or a stamen. It's amazing. Okay, so we just come up the center of those and the last one and up the middle, and I'm going to just quickly show you then. So that's how you colour up, and that's what I started saying on Pinterest. There's lots of different colours, so there'll be oranges and reds and purples, lots and lots of different ones. But also you might well be making these just to match your bridesmaids colours or a wedding dress colour or something like that. So that's my dusts. Now what I would do is, if I was doing these for a cake and let's say I had blended a colour, don't throw it out, because let's say you broke a flower or you've done something, you know, that you need to come back to it. Keep your that's why I use the dusting box as well, because I can just keep the colours, and then if I need to revisit them, I mean, you don't want to waste it anyway, but if I want to revisit it, I can come back then and I still have the blended dusts. And it's the same if I was mixing a flour paste or a sugar paste to match a colour. I'll always mix a little bit extra so you have it then. So that's your dusting box, and it just sits then until you're finished. Okay, so let me just before I start to assemble this, let me just quickly show you a couple of flowers I've been working on. How do you like this? It's a new dahlia. I've been making 2 new dahlias. This is a stripy one, you like, and this one here. And then also I've been doing sunflower. So this is one, and these ones here, people have been asking me about classes, so I'm actually doing a couple of private online classes for the sunflower. And also let me just show you here, and hopefully this will not topple. This here, these are my David Austins. So these are just for some private classes that, if I know some people have been asking me, and I'll be doing them in a private group, so you can just message me if you're interested and you want to have a look at them and see. I can let you know the details on them. All right, and that's the sunflower. So they're just a couple, as I say, few people have been messaging me and asking me. All right, I'm not sure on the spotty one if you can see the spots. I've kind of got it all spotty. So yeah, send me a message if you want to know more about it. You can always drop me a message and see. Okay, we've got all our bits and pieces ready. So we've the stamen and the pistils and everything ready, and we're ready to tape up. So what I do then is that I go use, now what colour tape do you use? You'll match the stem of the flower that you're making. So just to explain to you again, hopefully I always need to come a little bit more to the right. I forget that. So we've got all our bits and pieces. So when you're getting your tape, your florist tape, as we call it, will come in different colours. and it'll come in different widths, okay? So this here is called full width. These two are full width tape, okay? So it just means it's full width, and you'll get them in different colors. There's greens and browns, reds, there's lots of different colors. Also, you can buy half width tape. So the half width tape has just got 2 rolls in the pack that are cut. So they're the same width as these guys, but they're cut in half. Now this is what, you won't get this in such a range of colour, but they're already cut for you. So always, you'll nearly always at least cut your tape in half. So if it's already done for you, it saves you one little job. Okay, if you want to, if you can only get the full width tape, so this guy here, let me just briefly show you. This is the little guy that I use here. So it's a flowers tape and ribbon shredder. I actually haven't used on ribbon, but it would work on the paper ribbon. I'd imagine it wouldn't work on the satin ribbons. Okay, so what it has inside it, it's got a blade, razor blade. So do not put your hands in there. Okay, dangerous, dangerous. I've seen it in action. You can unscrew at the side here, and you can pop in up to 3 blades. So hopefully you can see them there against the light. So this one here, I just have 2 of them. So I'm posh like that. It just saves me to keep on switching. So I normally would use this one blade. This one here I use for competition work. All right. So how do you work these? You take your full width tape, and obviously they are to the width of the, let me find the start of this lad. We've got this lad. So you'll take off your length of tape, okay, so however long you need it. What you do then is you feed the tape in through the back of the shredder, open it up. Do not put your fingers in there. Use the tweezers and lift it out to the end. Close over the top, and you just press down and it shreds. You see? And it cuts for you. So if I was using the one with the 3 blades in it, it will have cut this in 4. But I've used the one with 1 blade, so it's cutting it in 2. Does that make sense? Okay. So it's a brilliant little thing. Otherwise, you know, you can just Varsha, yeah, if you want to just remind me at the end, I'll try and give the details of the private class, or you can always message me here on the page. If anyone is interested, I have a couple of private classes lined up, and you can send me a message and I'll surely go through it. So as I say, the one with the single razor blade will cut your tape in 2. The one with 3 blades will obviously cut it in 4. But that one I would only use for very fine, like buds or very fine little leaves or that. All right, Eileen, do I sell the tape? I have some, Eileen, I think. Yeah, I do indeed. Okay, so that's how you cut your tape, or you can also choose to use the half-width tape, which that's already cut for you. Okay, so to pull this together then, we need to start with our pistil. What I use then is I use a carrier wire. So this is an 18 or a 20 wire will work for this, okay? We place our tape onto, first of all, just start it on your carrier wire. So you want to just, now when you use the flowers tape, it's quite dry at the start. So as you stretch it, it releases the glue for you. Okay, so place a little bit onto your carrier wire. And the reason I use the carrier wire is just that it gives it a bit more structure, a bit more solid. I add in my pistil now, and I just give that a couple of turns. I'm right-handed. So I turn the pistil or the flower with my right hand. My left hand is holding the tape, but it's also pulling it there along ahead of me the whole time, and that releases the glue, okay? You can, I've seen people put the roll of tape in their pocket or pull off a little bit, you know, and you can do that. When you're starting out, if you just want to even tear yourself off a bit of tape, it'll work better. You know, you don't have to control the roll and everything as well. So we go back to the top again. We need now to add in our stamens. So what we do, and these come in the pack, there's 2 sets of the pistils and stamens. Just give that a slight little bend. The bottom of the stamen goes to the bottom of the pistil. So this is the pistil, that's the center part, okay? Just give that a turn, add in your next one. Slight little bend, it's only just going out about 45 degrees, okay? Okay, so, and you just add in, so we've 6 stamens going into these guys here. Paula, I'm interested, brilliant. Just if you are, send a message to the page, or I'll go through these anyway afterwards. Okay, so you want to space these, make sure that they're spaced evenly, and the fact that they're on wires, it means you've got a little bit of movement in them. So I'm just giving them a small bit of a bend so you can see. Okay, and we just, now don't worry if you're looking at it, and I always look down at the top, and I can see one is in there, that's fine. You can still pop that lad back out. Pull these down. Now, so another question someone asked me during the week, that they can't get the tape up close enough up to the bottom of the stamen. So all you do is give it a couple of rolls, take the wire that's there, pull that, flick out that end, pull that so they all get, you go through them one at a time, and that they'll all get nice and tight for you then. Okay? And then just run your tape down along, and this is the half width, this is the Nile green tape, okay, so that they're all tidied in. Don't worry that the stem looks a little small bit rough still, that's fine, we'll tidy that off afterwards, okay. But what you do want to do is you want to make certain that the stamens are evenly placed around it, okay. Then what we do is we add in the petals. And normally what I would do, so here's my 6 petals, so which goes where, it kind of doesn't matter, but this lad here is a little small bit narrower, so I'm going to put him on the inside. I'm going to match him with that one and maybe this one, and let's put those 3 on the outside. Okay, so what I do again, and it just means if you start your tape on, so now it's on, you're not trying to catch the tape and catch the center and catch the petals. Give that a little bit of a bend. Now when I bend, I'm holding it down at the base of the petal where the wire goes in. Don't bend the petal from the top because that's where it can snap off. All right. And we place that on there and we pop that in. And I'm going to show you again. Do you see there? We can see a little small bit of wire here at the very top. Just catch your wire, pull that down nice and tight. Okay. There's Greg Cleary. How are you keeping, Greg? Guys, if anyone didn't see, actually, yesterday on our Cake Artists United, the Global Isolation Room page, we had, or on Friday at least, we had a full day of flower making, and Greg was our first man up. He made beautiful, beautiful sweet peas. So I have mentioned the page on all the dems. You can always join, and the videos are on the page. Greg, it was lovely to see you working. Really nice, and nice to see you here. So we place on our 3 petals, and again, pull that down tight. And as somebody had asked me about the petals kept spinning around. If you can tighten it there for you, that should stop them spinning. So now we start to see it coming together. Okay, now our next petals, that's our first 3. Our next set of petals then, they go outside. Okay, and I've chipped off a little bit, lads, that's fine. It's going to happen. Build a bridge. Get over it. As I do say, it'll happen. It's fine, you've still plenty of texture on it. So it goes between the 2 petals. Okay, our next petal then goes in between again. Okay. It's that little chink, that sound you don't like, isn't it? All right, and bend that back, and that's your last petal on. And parrot tulips tend to be a little bit kind of flouncy. I love them because there's a bit of movement. There's lots of movement in it. Last thing you want to do then as well is that you just want to tighten that in there and there. Make sure that they're all nice and tight so that they don't kind of fly away on you. All right. And then you can, just let me grab the leaves so you can add in, and don't break this. So we can add in a leaf at the base. Okay, so I just pull the tape down along to the base. Don't worry, normally what I would do is I'd normally come down to the bottom and I'll go back up again and just give it another, you know, just to kind of cover in all those wires. Now it is a slightly different method if you're doing this for a competition because you don't want all those rough wires to be seen, but that's just a slightly different method that you'll work on it. All right. So anybody, any questions on them? Everyone happy? They're a great flower to make. I love them, and there's so many varieties. So I'm coming down halfways. I'm adding in my leaf then at the base. Let me just tidy this so I can just Nobody saw that. Tidy that in. Pop that around. And we just get this. So you get your leaf onto it there for you. All right. So as I say, if you have any questions, I will go back through all the comments anyway at the end. I think I kind of answered most of them there as I was going through. But if you have any questions, I will go back through them and answer them. Yeah, another question I keep getting asked is, how do I store my flowers? So to be honest, if I'm making them, like I have a room full of flowers here. I kind of leave them on show. They're all over the house because I like to see them. But if I was storing them, or I needed to store them long term, or I was prepping ahead for weddings or functions or that, what I would do is I'd use a cardboard box, I'd line it with some bubble wrap, and then I would line it with tissue on top of the bubble wrap so there's a good cushion underneath it, and store them that way. I prefer cardboard boxes than plastic boxes, because I think sometimes in the plastic they can sweat a little bit. If I was traveling this to a wedding, so you can see, you can still move all the petals if you need to as well, and you can see right down. Look at that, it's delicious texture, I love it. So what I would do is, if I was traveling this to a wedding, what I'd actually do is I tuck in little bits of tissue or bubble wrap in there between, so it stops those petals dancing off each other. And then I would travel it to the wedding, take them out when you get there, small bits of bubble wrap, take them out when you get there, and just then place it in wherever you want it to go. So that's it there. The bud, I should have taped that up also. And I can dust this up afterwards, but what I would do with this is just a small bit of the dark pink paste on it. So that is those. As I say, I have got a few private classes that I've been asked about, so do message me here on the page if you want. The private classes are a dahlia, a David Austin rose, and the sunflower, and I will post up pictures of them afterwards. So I'm just popping the bud on here at the side of it. And I'm not sure what's coming up this week online actually. Is there, I don't know what way Dems are this week on the group pages. I know on the isolation group page we have demonstrations coming up on Friday, I think later on in the week at least, and they'll be announced pretty shortly. So look, that's it there. Give that head a little bit of movement. They are straight up, but there's just a small, slight little bit of a twist on them. And let me just show you these guys one more time, so hopefully you can see. So this is the dahlia here. Hopefully you can see the little spotty parts on it. So this is one private class where it's the stripy dahlia and the little, what I'm calling the spotty dahlia. That's one of the private classes. And then the other one is going to be the sunflower class with all the sedum and the pepperberries and everything. They're all going to be included on it as well. And then the other private class that I have is the David Austin roses. So again, it's going to be making these leaves, these little berries and all the little pieces and everything for me. So just message me if you are interested in those. And let me just pop this up. So guys, that is me for another week. Next week I am making some hydrangeas. So hopefully I'll see you there. It'll be on next Sunday night again at 8 p.m. Here on the page again, but obviously I will be advertising it and everything during the week. Then what else have I got on? Yeah, so I've stuff on. I'll be posting up on the page, so make sure that you like and follow the page. I'll be posting lots up during the week of what's going on during the week. So look at me and my dahlias. We're off for a little cup of coffee. Look at that. Guys, thanks ever so much for watching me again and for joining in and for all the chat and the banter and everything. Great to see the questions coming through. I'll talk to you during the week. If not, I shall hopefully see you next Sunday night when we'll be making some hydrangeas. Stay safe, guys. Hope everybody is keeping well. Lovely to see you all again, and I shall see you during the week. Take care. Bye bye.